Hello, everyone, and welcome to At the Picnic Season 3, Episode 18. We were going to have a wonderful guest on tonight, Danny, but I think he is struggling with the technology to get onto Zoom. So we'll get him on another time. He's a bit of a legend, this guy. We won't give away who he is, and everyone's going to be excited when we get him on. But he's not from Victoria. He's from another state, and we'll just leave it at that. But, we can say that he is the father of one of our lovely picnic jockeys. Um,
Yep.
so we're still going to do a show. There's a couple of things we're going to talk about. So first of all, let's talk about Detarang. We had the
Yep.
double header on the weekend. Detarang, you had a couple of rides up there, and congratulations to the Frenchman Tom Brassard. He had three rides. He got two wins and a second with his claim.
Yes,
So
that
well
was
done.
great
And
to
of
see.
course, congratulations to the Barton family, especially Tyson, for Star of Matna winning the Detarang Cup, and of course the jockey Rowan Cox.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really, really good. Rowan rode that horse an absolute treat. Tyson did confess he wasn't necessarily sure that that one was going to win it, but he'd take it
Mm.
anyway. His mum and dad were there, and of course they had an absolutely fantastic day. So it was a ripping achievement. And a shout out to his mum. I got to sit down and have a bit of a gas bag with her after I'd had a couple of bevies anyway. And I also got to witness Rowan drinking hard solos out of the cup. So it was great. And for anyone that hasn't been to Dedarang, can I just say once a meeting, once a year club, it is just the best meeting. Getting food afterwards was a little bit tricky. The on-course entertainment was smashing. They had a great band up there. They had pizza there, which we weren't packed up quick enough to go and organise ourselves for. So next year, we're probably going to try and camp up there on the Friday, take the barbecue, roll out the swags, which is what we had this year. We'll make use of the swags again. Whether I ride up there or not, I don't know, but I'll see if I can have a couple of horses that are going to handle the track up there. Dawn did, Miss Thatcher didn't, and she pulled up a little bit sore. But look, we all live to fight another day, and just what a fantastic weekend away it was. And of course, then we're back into Yay the following day. So there are a few riders that camped up there for the night as well. Um, Rowan and Sophie have got a camper van that they a camper trailer that they hauled out and pulled apart and camped up there with us as well. So Mel McDonald stayed the night. Not sure who else did, but there were a few people that floated around and it was just great. It's such a good fun event. And there's so much of their community that gets in there for that particular day. It's just brilliant to see.
Well done. And I heard there was a fantastic crowd too. So
Yeah,
great turnout for them.
it was the largest crowd that they've had post-COVID, and
Wow.
early counting suggested it was possibly over 2,500 people, but I
Oh,
haven't heard
brilliant.
anything from Marcus as to how many it actually was. So, yeah,
For a track that's in
kudos
the
to
middle of
them for a
nowhere.
great. And it literally is in the middle of
Uh,
nowhere. Like the closest way to get a coffee on the way home was at the servo that was, an hour away, unless you
yeah.
can find one. We had the horse float on, so we had to be a bit careful with where we stopped. Myrtleford, there were a couple of places, but parking for us was going to be too awkward.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, just kudos. It was so much fun. We had a blast.
Good on them. Then we were at Yay on Sunday, and congratulations to Seb Galea, who rode a double, and Troy Kilgour, who got a double, and congratulations to them both and their sister Olive with 8 shouts. And a really big thing to come out of that meeting is, and we were talking about it off air, that we don't think this has happened before. Well, definitely at the picnics, but Don Dwyer and Sean Cooper got their 100th win together. That is absolutely amazing. So congratulations to them.
I, I don't recall. Look, Bodie obviously rode God knows how many hundreds of winners in his career at the Pickies. But he freelanced and rode for everybody. And I don't know that there's been any other combinations that have had those sorts of figures pop up. So it's an incredible effort. And I think it's been done over what, five or 7 years or something.
Mm.
I'm not really sure how many years, but going on his averages, I think it was about 5 or 7, between 5 and 7. So yeah, definitely a unique milestone, and congratulations to the pair of them. So it was really, really good to see as well. Great to see Kilgowers get and Sebastian get the Sister Olive. That was a great run, great ride too, and yeah, just brilliant days racing. It really was. Unfortunately, I think Mel got herself into trouble. She had Same
I read
hiccup as
that.
what Tracy had earlier in the year. So she got done for excessive use of whip. And I think
Mm.
other than that, I think everybody stayed out of trouble for the weekend. So pretty clear weekend. And of course, Mel
Good.
kicked home one at Yay as well for Ian Pankhurst, who's been knocking on the door
In the first,
as
yeah.
well. So that was really good as well to see him finally get that win underway.
And for me, on a personal note, that 100th win for Don and Sean was on one of my horses. So I usually don't get photos these days, Danny, but I'm going to get that one because that's very special to be involved in that. Now, coming up this week, we're at Woolamai.
Well,
But
am I?
before we talk about that, and we were talking off air, and I'm just going to ask your opinion coming from a trainer and a jockey. These double headers, how how do, how does it fit in with the travel? You got to get your sleep. For example, we're at Getterang, and then the next day we're at Yay. But coming up in a couple of weeks, we're at Hinnamungi on the Saturday, and then all the way back to Balnarring on the Sunday. How do you do it?
Look, there's normally a little bit of planning that goes into these things, and often with the double headers, when they're spread this far apart, there's a different pool of horses that go to those sorts of meetings. So you don't tend to detract your field sizes. So you tend to need all of your riders, which is great for everybody. We all learn a crust. And Derang are wonderful. They do ensure that the jockeys and trainers are both subsidised for going up there because it is so far from anything
Yep.
that we have down here. So that's been an initiative that they actually brought upon themselves when they struggled to get riders up there one year for the Cup. They had a full field for the Cup and only sort of 3, 4, and 5 runners for the other races. So there were sort of 2 or 3 jockeys that were going up there for the possibility of one ride, covering some of us 400 kilometres to get there. They decided that they would have put in some money for us to have fuel. And at
Mm.
that stage,
Mm.
we weren't paid anywhere near what we were paid now. When I first started riding at the picnics, it was only about, I think the second year I rode, we started getting officially paid, and it was $25 a ride. So obviously, I've been kicking around for a little while, and it's gone up a lot since then. We still only get about half of what they do at the pros. So, yeah, at the pros, they get scratching fees, we don't. And they also get a minimum ride allowance. And I think, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but they also get a fuel allowance. So, we're a long way from where they are, but we have improved an awful lot from where we were. And people fail to realise that originally, when the amateurs were racing, which is now what picnic racing is, you weren't supposed to have jobs within racing to be a jockey. And we raced for trophies. That was it. So the double headers require a bit of pre-planning. Um, there are some people, especially when we head up to Hinnamungi and those sorts of places, there's a few of us that can crash at mates' places and that on the way home or whatever, or we drive, part way and then jump in with them and they drive the other part way. So it swaps the driving and that sort of thing around as well. So that makes it a bit easier and takes a bit of pressure off. For the likes of Troy and Don, I'll use those two as an examples. Don, for him to go to Hinnamungi, it's 6 hours, and for Troy to go to Dedorang, it's somewhere in the same vicinity because they've both got to go up over Hotham and that sort of thing. So that's why you won't always see them with horses going there. If there's another meeting around, they'll often target those other meetings to save them from the driving and the fuel, which is so cheap these days. Um, as riders, we can and can't be a fan of them. We love the idea of earning that much money on the weekends. That's a great idea. However, the driving, especially if you're riding not the fastest horses, it can become pretty tedious. We do tend to carpool more than what we probably used to as well. So that also breaks it up a little bit, and you can break up your drivers and swap drivers, and provided nobody's got lost a license due to speeding, which tends to be something that a few of us get caught doing. So that can take a bit of pressure off as well. But also sometimes people have got a sweat and that sort of thing in the car, so they don't necessarily want other riders with them because it's inconvenient, it's frustrating. And if you don't have to sweat, who wants to sweat in a car for 4 hours? So we've
Mm.
all positioned at different stages to try and get the Dedarangs, the Hinnamungis, the Swifts Creeks put on a solo day to make it a little bit easier for us and to try and build field sizes to get good sized fields so as they don't fall away because there's a meeting closer the following day with varying degrees of success. 10 or 15 years ago, we used to have Buchan into Hinnamungi.
Mm.
And one was run on the Saturday, the other one was run on the Monday, and it was really good. But they had the rodeo crowd up there, so we used to lose half the crowd to the rodeo, and then everybody was too hungover to turn up to the races the next day. So they split them, and they claim that they get better crowds. So that was, something else that happened as well. So I don't know
Mm.
that there's a win in any of this for everybody, but that's sort of the theory of sort of what's gone along the wayside.
Well said. And probably what some people don't realise is that you picnic jockeys and trainers, when it comes to the picnic season, a picnic only goes for what, 5 months, and
Yeah.
you rely on that money. So when there's double headers, you have to do that travelling because that's money that you're expecting and relying on. And there's not overly a lot of picnic jockeys around, so it's not like you can say, "Oh, I'm just going to ride three rides at Hinnamungi and I won't worry about Balnarring." You can't do that. If you're offered 3 rides at Hinnamungi, you go, and if you're offered 3 rides at Balnarring, you go.
That's right. That's also another thing. Sometimes, yeah, you do turn around and go, oh, stuff it, I'm only going to get 1 or 2 rides, I won't go. But then if there's nobody else going up, you sort of go, oh, look, I'll go because otherwise they're not going to be able to run their horses and they're not going to come down
Right.
here for me. So you do. And that's where Dedarang foresaw the problem and went, well, we'll make it financially suitable for you, and, make it appeasing that way, which they do. They do it. They do a great job up there. Everything's really put together well. It's a really well run meeting. Not saying that any of the others aren't particularly good or particularly bad or anything else. They saw a problem, they fixed it years ago, and they've run with that, and it has really worked well for them. They do a great job.
I like what you said before that, that the pros get a minimum riding allowance. Maybe that's something that you picnic jockeys should get. So if you go all the
We
way to
have
Dedarang for one ride,
tried.
make it worth your while,
Look, we have tried, but because as trainers, there's no scratching fee for charged for us. So a scratching fee at the provincials is if it's before 4 o'clock the day before, I think it's about $150 or $125. If it's on the morning of the races, it's $250. So that covers your jockey's fee. That covers, your all of your bits and pieces for that horse. Whereas at the picnics, we're only charged $10. And I'll be honest, it's, you're going to be less likely to scratch at the pros than what you are at the picnics because of the finances. But in saying that, a lot of us won't scratch at the picnics because we're going there because we think we've got a chance and we need the money too. So it's a double-edged sword, and it's a really tricky one to try and work out. I don't know that there's a real middle ground with this one. It's a real stalling point. And it also goes into, the jockeys going for jump outs money and that sort of stuff. So traditionally we used to ride jump outs for free because that was how we got a feel of the horses to see which ones we wanted to ride race day. Whereas now there's the amount of jockeys that there are, they want to be paid for it because they're not guaranteed the rides, whereas traditionally we sort of were guaranteed the rides. So there's a whole lot of things that go on behind what the media have perceived and put out there. And jockeys and that were employed by stables and on the payroll were able to ride in the jump outs, whereas the jockeys that weren't allowed to ride in the jump outs because they were supporting the national jockeys in their stance against not getting paid for jump outs. So it was all a whole lot of tricky shit, really. And I don't know that there were really any winners out of it. So yeah. Anyway, that's a whole basket that's above my payroll.
On a positive note, the picnics are going places, and for example, the cup money has gone up to 10,000 this year for each picnic cup from 6,000. That's a great thing.
Yeah, it is. And look, we've managed to, with the qualifying conditions and that sort of thing, we have managed to keep it predominantly to picnic horses. So I think that's been a really good win this year as well. We're really the only one that sort of snuck through the system was Diamanda, but he he didn't end up being able to get into the Belnarian Cup on a technicality. I don't know whether that was rectified or what had gone wrong there. We all thought that he was going to, but in saying that, Mick's had a great season with that horse. He's gone on and he's won and run really good placings at the pros as well. So
Yep.
yeah, it has been good. We've managed to keep it mainly to picnic horses, which, that's what the job of the qualifying conditions was to make sure that we keep it that way. And it's why we try and do it with the Corinthians as well, as to ensure
Yep.
that it is just for picnic horses. So
Yep.
it's been good to see something work, and it's been good to see something work well.
Absolutely. And one thing I just jotted down before, which I suppose we should mention, is the passing of Michael Moroney, which from people from watching racing.com today, all the people that said they knew him said he was a wonderful man and he got all the time in the world for everybody. So condolences to all the racing community and especially his family.
Yeah, he was a larger than life character who was very well respected amongst his peers and everyone in racing. He was a great horseman, had a great reputation for being able to transition horses from New Zealand over to here. And, he had some fantastic horses, won a Melbourne Cup, of course, and had a really neat season last season as well. So, yeah, obviously a very sudden passing and was quite unexpected. And, yeah, our sympathies and condolences go out to everybody who's affected.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
All right. We're off to Woolamai this Saturday, and then, of course, the weekend after, we've got the double header we were talking about, which is Hinnamungi and Belnarring. So I think you've got a horse in. You've got our Dawny in at Woolamai this week, I saw.
Yeah, I have. I snuck our Dawny in. So she's doing the quick backup. I'm going to sneakily see if she can see out the 1600, and then I've got a couple of little plans for her. So Sophie's done a really neat little job steering her for us this season. And she's just been as gutsy as ever and just honest and stoic in every race she's run. So I'm looking forward to seeing if she can get out over a trip this prep. She's done a great job. She's exceeded expectations. Sophie had said early in the piece she'd be Holly and Sophie had both said if she won a race they'd be wrapped. So we've managed to tick off a couple and run some really good races in amongst that.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm wrapped with her. But
Good on you.
no, it's been really good. I think the smallest field was 1,000 meter maiden.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they've only got 5. My horse isn't fit enough, so he isn't coming. But yeah, the rest of them we've sort of got full fields, 8, 9, and 10s, and a couple with 3 and 4 emergencies. So
That's great.
it's been fantastic. Even so, the Open 1,000 there was that many acceptances this morning. I'm surprised they never ended up dividing it. And even where'd it go? The 1,600, it's got 1, 2, 3 emergencies. So yeah, it's a really solid effort. So great to see for Woolamai.
When they
Um,
possibly consider splitting a field, is one of the things they take into consideration there may not be enough jockeys to fill those fields?
Not these days, no, because if you've got enough to field one race, you've got enough to field 2 of them.
Good point.
Basically, what happens is if there's been races cancelled or called off around that time frame, and if they can field 2 full fields, so if there were, what have we got? We've got 10 plus, yeah. So if there was 20 acceptors with riders down, or 20 acceptors, then they would divide it because you get 2 full fields of 10. So it'd also depend on whether those horses had accepted for anywhere else.
Yep.
But yeah, generally if they can field 2 full fields, they'll split them. Not so much
Fair
at the
enough.
picnic. It has happened a few times. It does happen at the pros more often than it will at the picnics.
We've only got a couple of minutes left, so we'll bring him in. He was all revved up to speak to our guest today, and he had a few questions for him, but it didn't work out well. So he's a bit sad, Danny. So um, can he come around and help you?
Jeremy.
Can he come around? I mean, will your horses get a bit freaked out?
I reckon they could get a bit scared by him. I'm
Mm.
not sure that. I think Max would probably try and eat him up for breakfast. Max doesn't mind having a bit of a chew on a stuffed teddy bear. So for anyone that doesn't know our place, we have a 5-month-old black German Shepherd dog,
You
and
do?
He goes pretty good on the rabbits. He goes pretty good on the foxes. And I'm tipping he'd give Kermit a fair run for his money, just quietly.
Rip his leg off. I was thinking if I walked down to the back paddocks and Baz saw him, I reckon Baz would want to tear him apart.
I think after Baz got over the initial shock of seeing something like that heading towards him, there's a fair chance he probably would. Navy might even have a crack at him, actually. So, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
we'll
So
leave
we
that for
won't do
another
it.
time.
We'll keep him. We'll keep him at home because he'll just run right, and he'll run in your
Yeah,
house and open your fridge and steal all your grog because he does it wherever he goes. He's a shocker. He's got problems. We need
yeah.
to get him to AA, I think.
Well, I'd look either that or a set of handcuffs in a jail cell probably wouldn't go astray for him either.
Go
Bloody
down to the
Kermit.
police.
There's not
Go.
there's not that much alcohol in our fridge after the weekend. We polished it all off at get around.
I bet you did. I
So
bet you did. All right. Thanks, Danny. That was still a good show. It was informative, and thank you for giving your opinion and insight of the double headers because people probably don't think of that at the end of the
look,
day
I
of
think
what you have to do.
something that people also don't realise is that not so much at the pros, but definitely a lot of all of us picnic riders and trainers, we don't necessarily have people to take over our stables and stuff when we go early. So a lot of these guys that ride track work, so Mel, Sophie, Rowan, Tyson, he trains and rides his own as well. So do
Mm.
I. So my day some days starts at 2:30. Oh, I start out at the stables at 3 o'clock in the morning. So my alarm goes off at 2:30. Don and Mary would be the same. I'm sure
Yep.
Troy would be the same as well with the amount of horses they've got in.
Yeah.
Nicole, David Noonan, and everyone else. Like, we're up early. So also
Yep.
driving to some of these places that are that far away, as it's a long trip. So
Mm.
it's the driving and that sort of thing that goes into this, and then getting people to cover our work or giving our horses the day off to then work them the next day or whatever else. That's also something that I think a lot of people don't realise that has to go on as well with these double headers. So
Yep.
anyway,
And,
look,
and with the
let's
driving,
get out of here.
I'm sure that no dose tablets go down well.
No, I don't take them. They make me feel quite queasy, and that excess caffeine boost gives me the shakes. So I got off them years ago.
I have to say, I had a couple of them
I'm on,
once.
I'm on the
I,
life.
I,
I'm
I,
on the life cycle
Jesus.
mushrooms these days.
Oh my goodness. All right. Thanks, Danny. Good luck on the weekend. Good luck to everyone down at Woolamai. And you're going to organise our guest for next week. You know who I'm talking about, and he's going to be a ripper.
God help us. I will be trying. All right. Have a
Okay.
great weekend,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Safe riding to everybody. Take care.
See you later. See everyone.
See ya. Bye.
Bye. Yeah.